Welcome to Unlocking Your Truth, another podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips.
Hello listeners, and welcome to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley and Corey.
Hello everyone.
And we're broadcasting live today from CIVL on 101.7 FM across the Fraser Valley. And we're broadcasting from the unceded territory of the Stolo Nation. Unlocking Your Truth is a talk show about metaphysics and spirituality, and every week we have a different topic that we talk about, and we invite you, the listeners, to participate in the discussion. And tonight the topic is going to be about energy healing, and specifically about the root cause of your illness. And so if you're interested in energy healing, or if you have a condition that you are suffering from and would really like to find some answers, then you are tuning in to the right place. And usually what we do is we open with the discussion topic, and then later on in the show we open the phone lines for you to call with your questions. And so tonight you're welcome to call and ask about anything, but in particular under the umbrella of what we're talking about, which is energy healing. And so I'd like to read the phone number out to you so that you can have that ready for later in the show when we do open the phone lines. The number here is 604 504 7441 extension 4142, and once again that's 604 504 7441 extension 4142. Well, I guess any of you that know me and have been on my website, you know that I am an energy healer and a clairvoyant, and I teach people how to meditate and how to open and access their intuition.
I knew that. Do I get points?
Yes, yes, you do. And one thing that I notice in my practice that there are different kinds of trends, you know. For a few weeks it'll be a particular focus, and then it'll switch. And lately what has been happening is a lot of people have been coming to me with serious physical conditions, and so I wanted to talk about that and talk about some of the things that I see in my practice with respect to that. And often, not always, but often a person is why they're suffering from their condition is a complete mystery to them. And so they see no relationship between the cause and effect of the illness, if you like. And yet letting go of the root cause of an illness is essential for healing to occur. And we create our own reality. And this can be a hard thing for people to swallow, but if you have developed an illness, that illness is your creation. It's your life. You are creating your life, and you are creating your experience of your life. And so that's what I wanted to talk about this evening, is sort of how to get out of the victim mentality and realize that you are the powerful creator of your reality. And if you have created an illness, you can uncreate the illness just as readily as you created it. In fact, perhaps even more readily than you created it.
I disagree. I can create illness pretty quick.
Yeah, well, but some people, it develops over a lifetime, doesn't it? But you know, by the time you've developed a physical symptom, by the time that happens, by the time that comes to the surface as a manifestation in your body, you've ignored many other signals along the way. It's my opinion, my perspective as a spiritual healer, that all illness begins with a misalignment between body and spirit. Okay, so something is in disconnect. Something, the energy isn't flowing from your source through you in an unimpeded fashion. So, and when there is a misalignment, how do you know? How do you know there is a misalignment between body and spirit? Well, the first thing that will happen is that your body will tell you. And the first level at which it attempts to communicate with you is on the emotional level. It will give you an emotional response to say, hey, something's wrong here. Something's out of alignment here. And if at that stage you respond as spirit, and you listen to the body, and you listen to the body's emotional signals, and you allow the emotions to flow, and you don't repress them, and you don't judge them, and you don't bottle them up, and you don't shove them down, and you don't throw them at people. If you take control at that point, listening to the body, taking care of its needs, and taking the body into consideration with how you're creating your reality, that misalignment need never go any further. It can be corrected at the emotional level. However, if you respond as ego, and then you may go straight into victim mode, you may go straight into fear and worry or blame. And then when that happens, that's when the circular mental patterns, that's when all of that worry thinking takes place. When you think the same thing over and over and over again. This is wrong. Why is this wrong? Over and over and over again. And what that does is it just helps to anchor the issue even more deeply. And so if you are unable to rise above these mental and emotional levels, eventually the body will shout as loud as it possibly can, and it will do that through the manifestation of a physical symptom. And so that, from my perspective as a spiritual healer, is how a physical illness develops. It starts from a misalignment between body and spirit. Body tells you something's wrong through its emotions. If you ignore the emotions and start sinking into unhealthy mental patterns around it, eventually it's going to manifest as a physical symptom and as a physical illness. So let's talk a little bit about the origin of the spiritual misalignment. Because tonight's show is all about energy healing and the root cause of your illness. That's what we're talking about on Unlocking Your Truth tonight. Energy healing and the root cause of your illness. And so let's just start. I'll just start by sharing another of my perspectives, and that is who you are really. Because you're not your physical body. You are spirit. Your true nature is that you are an eternal spiritual consciousness, eternal multidimensional spiritual consciousness. And so this misalignment between body and spirit can be located at different levels of your being and at different points of your consciousness and your existence. And for example, what's very common is that it can be originate in the current life timeline. So however old you are now, from when you were conceived, that's your timeline for your current life. It can be due to something that happened at some point or at several points along that timeline. And this is very common. And often a lot of our misaligned and out of alignment beliefs have their origin in childhood. Because if you are, it's very common, for example, for kids to develop a feeling of unworthiness because they don't feel loved, because they don't feel seen for who they are, and various other things. And so there can be these traumatic, life-changing events. There can be accidents that happen along the way, serious accidents, abuse of any kind, whether it's mental, physical, or sexual abuse, or loss of somebody that you love. There are many, many things that can occur in the time frame of your life that, if you do not process the event at the time or soon after, that can be stored in your body, and it pushed down, repressed, and end up forming beliefs around it, like I'm always alone, or bad things always happen to me, or I'm not worthy, nobody loves me, whatever it is. If you're holding that energy pattern in your energy field, the law of attraction says like attracts like, and you are going to attract more events that prove that to you. And then that belief is going to get anchored and anchored and anchored more deeply. So there can be events in the current life that are the origin point for your illness. And you didn't take the responsibility to process the emotions at the time. And therefore, and you've been ignoring them all the time since, and therefore it develops into something physical. But there are also other origin points that we could also talk about here. So remember, I said you're a multidimensional being. You're not your physical body. And so sometimes there can be a cause or a root or an origin point associated with an illness that you're going through in present time reality that is anchored in a past life or a series of past lives. Because sometimes the soul, well, often the soul is exploring a theme across multiple incarnations. And you're one of those incarnations that is participating in the exploration of that theme. And other things, reasons for, anchor points for the development of an illness, it can include having foreign energy in your system. And that foreign energy could come from an entity or a being. We had a show where we talked about that. Or it could come from other people, other people who attempt to control and manipulate and invalidate you. When your body is created by you, and it is meant to be the vessel that harbors your unique energy frequency and your unique energy vibration. And so if you are not owning your body, then somebody else is. And if somebody else's energy is in there, you are out of alignment. There is a misalignment between body and spirit again. So it's really important for you as you awaken and become consciously awake and aware, for you to own your physical space and for it to be your energy, your unique energy frequency that's flowing through your physical space. Because if it isn't, then there is a misalignment between body and spirit. And if you're just tuning in, listeners, to Unlocking Your Truth, what we're talking about this evening is energy healing, and in particular the root cause of illness,
which is very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. And we've talked about how people don't always associate themselves as being the cause of their own illness, and yet it's always the case. You create your reality. And what we talked about is how all illness has its origin in misalignment between body and spirit, and that the body is going to tell you when you're out of alignment through its emotions. But unfortunately, what most people do is they ignore their emotional signals. They repress their emotions. They push them down. They don't have permission to express them at the time. And so if you do that, then what's happening is that those emotions are being stored in your body, and maybe instead of processing them and dealing with them as spirit, the ego takes a hold of them, and then we get the added impetus of those mental patterns and the negative thinking. And so eventually it comes down through the misalignment between spirit and body, through the emotional levels being ignored, through the crazy mental levels taking over, and then eventually it manifests as something physical. And we were just talking about how, the origin of that spiritual misalignment can be in the present life, it can be in a past life, it can be due to foreign energy, and it also can be due to unsupportive belief systems. So unsupportive belief systems and unresolved emotions, these can all be at the root cause of an illness. And so how do you understand your condition? So after the break, we're going to talk about understanding your illness or your condition or your physical symptoms. So stay tuned, listeners. You are tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley and with Corrie. And like I said, this evening we're talking about energy healing, and in particular the root cause of your illness. We're going to take a short break, and we're going to continue on with this topic when we return. Welcome back, listeners. You are tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley and Corrie.
Hello again.
And we're broadcasting live across the Fraser Valley on 101.7 FM.
Oh, did you notice we have a friend today?
I did. Yes, we share this studio with lots of other radio programs and radio hosts, and sometimes they leave little mementos, and somebody's left a little baby. Not a real baby, a little plastic baby that Corrie seems fascinated by.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, actually. Yeah. Maybe he needs a healing. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. It's waving at me.
Oh, the fun we have.
Ah, yes. Well, if you have only just joined us, listeners, the show's not about babies. It's actually about energy healing and the root cause of illness. And before the break, we were talking about the cause and effect of illness and how it originates with a misalignment between body and spirit. And that normally the body will let you know when there's a misalignment through its emotions and its emotional signals. And if you, the spirit, take conscious control at that point, it need not go any further. However, if your ego takes a hold of it and you go into victim mode, become obsessed by it, really worried by it, blame people for it, and round with those mental patterns, that helps anchor it more deeply. And eventually what will happen is it will develop into a physical symptom when it's been something that has been going on long term like that. So, and we talked about how that misalignment can originate in the current life, in past lives, in traumatic events that have happened to you, be a result of you not owning your own energy system, and unsupportive and self-limiting beliefs. And so in the next part of the show, I wanted to just talk about, well, okay, let's say that you've got some kind of a condition that is causing you a problem. How can you solve the mystery of that condition? And of course, I would, by understanding which of all of those things that we already talked about are relevant to you and your condition. And, where is the energy flowing and where is the energy blocked? And looking at the location in the body which system of the body is being affected, which organ in the body, which type of cell is being impacted. You can even look at the nearest chakra or other energy structure for clues, because usually there is a correlation between where a symptom is being expressed and the underlying causal belief and trauma of that condition. And so some examples could be, let's say you've got some problems with your eyes. Well, the eyes, the closest energy center to the eyes is the sixth chakra. And that the sixth chakra relates to clairvoyance, and it relates to seeing. And a problem that develops with your eyes can relate, if you're not seeing straight, right? So eye problems, not seeing straight, misperceptions about your reality. So some kind of beliefs that represent misperceptions about reality. You're not seeing your reality straight. Or let's say you've got problems with the hips and the knees or the feet, then that has to do with your motivation force moving forward in life, and feeling stuck and directionless and not knowing what the next steps for you might be. And that can be associated with the first chakra, which is relating to the musculoskeletal system and the foundation of everything in your life. Or let's say that you've got diabetes or something wrong with the pancreas. It can relate to feeling like there's no enjoyment in life left anymore. And digestive issues, not being able to digest what's being delivered to you in your life, being in resistance to some of the things in your life, and so on. Hardened arteries, cardiovascular issues, hardened thinking, resistance again.
It's amazing how we can actually verbalize these things.
Yeah. Rheumatism, arthritis, self-judgment, being caught in patterns of self-judgment. So we could go on and on and on and on, but there is a direct relationship between a physical symptom and the belief structures that you have laid down. And those belief structures may have been laid down because of things that happened to you in your childhood or in a past life, for example.
Dr. Lesley, could you move the position of your phone? You're constantly breaking up, and it might be the signal. If you put it over on the other side where it was originally, you might be getting a better signal.
Okay.
Let's try that.
Yes, so to those of you listening on the radio who don't understand what that was all about, we're actually live streaming on Facebook. And so if you like this show and you would like to watch us, then you can go join our Facebook group, which is Awaken Your Psychic Abilities Facebook group. And that way you can watch as well as listen.
Your signal is very poor tonight.
So, listeners, you're tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley and with Corrie. And we're talking about energy healing and especially the root cause of illness, and how there's this cause and effect relationship between a physical illness developing and something that happened way back in time, or through the from the physical through the mental, emotional and spiritual layers of your reality. And so now let's talk a little bit about the healing process. And I find that sometimes people are really afraid of digging deeply down into the root cause of an illness. And one of the reasons that they get very afraid about this is because they think if they go there, they will have to relive it. they will have to re-experience it. And so if they have an inkling that, there was some abuse in their past that they've shut it out, they may resist healing. They may resist unlocking and uncovering the protections that they've put on top of that, because they think they're going to have to go through that pain again. And that's actually not true. It's not true. You do not have to relive or re-experience a trauma in order to release it. It can be helpful for you to become aware of it, to develop an awareness of it, and to consciously identify it, although that's not even always necessary to release energy. It is possible to release energy without knowing what you're releasing. Now, I also noticed two different approaches that people have to their self-healing process. And of course, I believe all healing is self-healing ultimately, and really all I'm doing as a healer is catalyzing your healing process. I'm assisting you to heal yourself. And some people, when they come to me, they just want to receive. They just want to receive a healing. They don't necessarily want any information, and they don't want to learn how to do it themselves. Other people want a healing, and they also want a reading. They want some information about what's going on and all the whys and the wherefores. And then other people would like to learn how to heal themselves. They like to learn what I do as a healer, so that they can take charge of their reality and they can take charge of their healing process. So if you're one of the ones that simply wants to receive from a healer and have somebody else take care of you, that's fine. Your energy, if you have a serious condition, your energy may be so low and so out of balance that you need an energy boost to jumpstart the healing. You need that support. I would just caution, though, to say that sometimes you just be careful that you are not attempting to make somebody else responsible for you, because that is also something that can happen, is that you think because you have gone to a healer, that now that healer is responsible for you to get better. And it's simply not true, because each human has 100% responsibility for their own life. So what the healer is an assistant, someone who can help to catalyze your healing, but they are not responsible for you. You are responsible for you. And so it's okay to go to a healer and just simply want to receive, but just that caution to say, don't make them the one that's responsible, because you are. And actually, the healing is going to be more successful the more you own your condition. And so it can be helpful to have a reading about your condition, and so that you can understand it. And in a way, I really enjoy working with people who want to take charge of their own healing process, who want to learn how to use energy techniques to heal themselves, to change their reality. And I always like to say to people, you never create anything in your reality that you cannot uncreate. So quite often people will come to me and they'll say, I've got this disease, will I get better? I've got this disease, will I get better? And my answer is always, you know what, I don't predict the future for people, because the future is not predetermined. You create your own reality. But guess what? Because you create your reality, and because you're responsible for everything that is in it, you can easily uncreate. So if you've created this illness, guess what? You can uncreate the illness as well, meaning you can heal yourself by changing by changing yourself, and through your faith and your belief and your intentions. So, what might a typical healing be like? And I can talk about my work and what perhaps a typical healing is like with me. And by the way, listeners, if you've been listening and you'd like to phone up and get an insight on a condition that you have, or even a little bit of energy healing, the number that you can call is 604-504-7441, extension 4142. And once again, 604-504-7441, extension 4142. And the producer's just given me a T sign, so I guess we're going to go to a break, and I will talk a little bit more about energy healing when we return from the break. Welcome back, listeners. You are tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley and Corrie. And tonight we are talking about energy healing on the show and the root cause of illness. And we've been discussing how you create your reality. And so if you've developed an illness, then because you're the creator of your reality, you are also able to uncreate that illness. And so, but it might be helpful for you to be able to work with an energy healer to assist you with that process. And by the way, folks, I want to invite you to, if you're watching us on Facebook, to post your questions. And if you are listening live on air, you can phone in with your questions on 604-504-7441, extension 4142. And once again, that's 604-504-7441, extension 4142. So, before the break, we went through how an illness relates to a misalignment between body and spirit. And we talked about how the body will tell you when you're out of alignment through its emotions. And if we listen to those emotions, then we can prevent an illness from developing. And but if instead the ego takes hold and the monkey mind takes hold, then we can anchor it more deeply in until it eventually becomes something physical. And we talked about how the origin of that misalignment can be located in this lifetime, in traumatic events, or in your past lives. Also in how other people are treating you, whether you're owning your energetic space, whether your unique vibrational frequency is the one that's resonating through the physical vessel of the body, or whether it's, other people who are invading you, and, and how unsupportive belief systems can cause you problems. And so these are all the ways that you can start to develop an understanding of your condition. And we're also talking about where the disease is located and what system of the body, what organ of the body, what cell of the body can give you a lot of information about what's going on at the level of the beliefs. We use the example of if you've got something going wrong with your sight, that it can be that you're not seeing things clearly. Right, you're not seeing your reality clearly in a psychological sense, for example. And so, if people come to me for a healing, this is the way that we work it. We look at we address all the principles that we've talked about today. We look at the body-spirit relationship. We look at the source and cause of the misalignment. We look at if there's stuck emotions, if there's mental patterns that are not supporting. And we work at all of those levels, including the physical level, the systems of the body, the organs of the body, cellular repatterning, even at the level of the DNA expression. And providing the much needed energy that somebody needs in order to catalyze the healing process. So once again, listeners, this is Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley, and we've been talking about energy healing and the root cause of your illness. And I do want to invite anyone who is listening, if they have a question, if you're tuning in on the Facebook group, please type your question in the question box. And if you're listening live on air, you're welcome to call the studio line, which is 604-504-7441, extension 4142. And I'm just going to ask Corey, do we have any questions yet, Corey?
Not on the Facebook page, but I do have one here that I came in by email, if you want to hear it.
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay. And, and it is, she's talking about her hair, and this comes from Layla. And she said, I used to have extremely thick, long, healthy, bushy hair, almost like a lion's mane. But now my hair is just breaking, falling, thinning, full of split ends, missing patches, and it's a huge mess. My doctor can't seem to figure out what's wrong. No amount of external or internal treatments have helped me. I'm just a lost cause. I don't know what to do or where to look for help. I have to spend hours every day to make my hair look less weird and funny before I go out somewhere. As I'm still fairly young, the state of my hair is causing me to feel worried and sad.
Yeah. Well, I can understand that, Layla, and thank you for sending that message in. And it's a common story that people go to the doctor and feel like the doctor isn't really understanding at all what's going on. So, and modern medicine is great, but it's not always taking a holistic approach, and it's certainly looking at the physical symptomology and not always looking at what we've been talking about this evening, which is the mental, emotional, and spiritual origins and misalignments that contribute to the development of a physical illness. So I'm going to take a look for you, Layla, at the issue of your hair, and I'm just doing that now. Okay. Well, it might take me a moment to look at this. So bear with me, viewers. I know it's not that entertaining on the radio to have some silence, but I'm just taking a look at this lady's energy. So let's see. Well, if I had you live, I'd want to ask you, when this first started happening, what occurred in your life? Because it almost looks to me like that the body went through some kind of fright. That sort of it's almost that kind of fright or event that tears your world apart and makes you question that is the world really like you thought it used to be. So it wouldn't surprise me if there was some kind of correlation with a traumatic event and this starting to happen. Because it's almost like what I thought was true isn't true anymore. What I thought was true isn't true anymore. And so it's almost like the hair is representing the old truth that you're now disconnected from. And the hair is thinning and forming bald patches as a result of that. It's like the hair was representing your belief structures, and your belief structures were shaken to the ground, and so the hair is falling out as a consequence. And so it feels like it's something in the past, and that sort of almost froze you in this moment of schism between what you thought was true and what I don't know, the whatever the shock was that was happening to you. And so I'm seeing it's like it's not been processed. It's like frozen in time. And so we can give you a little hand with bringing that into present time and starting to release it. Did you have anything to add to that, Corey?
No, I don't.
Okay. All right. So I hope that helps you, Layla. And I would just say, see if you can identify. It's not been processed. It's like the event that happened. Is there another email question?
Yes, I have another one here, and it's from Lynn in Englishtown, USA, and she wants to know, when will the pain and fear finally end?
Okay. Well, we'll look at this lady as well, and she doesn't explain what it's to do with, but we'll take a look. And I'm just tuning into this lady's energy. When you take charge of your reality, your body is it's kind of like running on adrenaline, running crazy. It's being left to cope with it on its own. It's just being left to cope with it on its own. And it's got no direction, it's got no spiritual guidance to tell it what to do and how to heal itself. And so I'm seeing that the pain and fear will be able to be released when you come in as spirit and take charge of your reality and what's going on in your reality and what you've stored in your body. It's not gonna end by a miracle. It has to do with you coming in and taking charge, really. And maybe that's easy to say, but I would just say I do teach people how to come in and take charge of their reality. And it's done through meditation. It's done through learning how to ground, and that will help bring you into your body and connect you with your body and align you with your body. And another technique which is called centering, which allows you to be above the emotional and intellectual levels of your body so that you can take charge. And there is a free download on drlesleyphillips.com. Under the free tab, there's a free meditation that teaches grounding and centering. And that's the first step. Come into your body instead of ignoring your body and seeing your body as some foreign thing that's doing things that are bothering you that you can't have any control over, because you can. So the answer to your question is when you take charge of your reality. We've got time for one more question.
We do, but we could also chat.
Sure. Would you like to do that instead?
Let me look. Maybe something's come in here.
You're tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth, listeners, on 101.7 FM across the Fraser Valley.
Here's one from Nikki. Nikki says, I'm single and have been for years. I was wondering when and where will I find the man of my dreams, and can you give me a description of what he's like?
Tall, dark, and handsome.
Okay, the next question. Short, pudgy, and bald.
Yes. You know, there's billions of people in this world. There's not just one correct individual that you're meant to meet and end up with. There's lots of possibilities. And, I guess same thing as I was saying to the previous question. When will you meet somebody? In a way, it's when you take charge of your reality. It's when you take charge of your vibration. When you become the one that you want to attract, when you vibrate with love and all of the, if you think of all the ways that you believe that you will feel when you're in that relationship and choose to feel them now, you will become the attraction point for that relationship. And so it's down to you. You create your reality. If your reality is not showing up in the way that you prefer, whether the way you don't prefer is an illness or whether the way you don't prefer is being single, by changing your vibration, by changing your beliefs, by healing yourself, by clearing stored emotional trauma deposits from your energy field, that's how you make the shift. Your reality matches you and whatever energy vibration you're putting out.
That holds true for everything, though, I find. Just like, doesn't matter what it is, just you've got to be who you are in order to attract whatever you want to attract. If you want to attract sports, you can't be a basketball player if you don't have that sort of desire and want to be that basketball player. People can't make you be something. And it works vice versa too. You can't make somebody else be something. I always find it funny when I watch people chase people, trying to win them over, you know.
Yeah, although you know what, people try, and there's plenty of examples of people where their parents made them become something they didn't want to, and then they have a midlife crisis or an awakening at some point along the path and say, hey, I'm a doctor, but I didn't want to be a doctor, actually. Or, hey, I'm a car mechanic, but I wanted to be, I don't know, an artist. And so people can't make you, but you can be so not in charge of your reality that the influences of others result in you following something that's not your true path.
That's true.
And then that is your true path. To not follow your true path and discover you didn't follow your true path and be on your true path.
Well, the thing is, personally, my opinion is that there is no such thing as a path. Because no matter where you are, that's where you are. And it's not a path. You're just where you are. Because a path leads somewhere specific. But in your life, you're not going anywhere specific. You're going wherever you're going next. Yeah. Which is never specific until you decide to make it specific.
Yeah, you can have an intention and an objective of where you are directing your energy and where you are headed, and then you create a path as you go.
Yeah, but you create the path, but every step you take creates the next step in the path. There is no path until you take that step. So there really is no path.
There's a direction. Can we use the word direction?
Well, no, because the direction's not always direct.
So what I would say is you create your reality and you create your path, and you can use I don't mind using the word path.
I don't mind using the word path.
I mean, basically, if you really want to get down to it, we
just have a few minutes to spare.
What you're doing is you're basically quantum jumping from one moment in the time-space continuum to another, and it appears like a linear pathwise thing.
And if you're lucky, you'll change realities once in a while and actually recognize it.
Yeah, exactly.
And well, that's it for tonight, Dr. Lesley.
Yes, and I think we're going to be here next week.
Depends on where the path takes us.
That's true as well, isn't it? Yeah, so listeners, you've been tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley and Corrie, broadcasting on 101.7 FM across the Fraser Valley. And we are here every Tuesday from 7 o'clock Pacific time to 8 o'clock Pacific time. And you can now watch us. Why are you laughing? Don't laugh. I've only got 2 minutes left to speak.
No, you don't. You've got less than that.
Because you laughed.
No, because you have to finish about 10 seconds.
And I forgot what I was going to say. So we'll see you next week. Same time, same place. Oh, and you can... If you want to watch us, you can join the live stream on Facebook, the Awaken Your Psychic Abilities Facebook group.
Thank you for joining us. You've been listening to another Unlocking Your Truth podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips. For more information, go to our website at drlesley PHILLIPS.com. That's drlesleyphillips.com, where you can ask questions or send her an email, and there's many free gifts on there for you as well. You can also find the questions that were asked during this show at the website on our free card reading podcast page, where you'll find a full list of them. Come back again